Well, people were quite surprised here by the announcement of the Constitutional Court, because only a few days ago the court had validated the results of the first round. But this was, of course, before the documents by the intelligence services were declassified and before it was confirmed that Călin Georgescu benefited from a orchestrated, very well coordinated campaign on the social network platform TikTok, where in only a few weeks he reached increased visibility. There's also allegations of foreign interference, including from Russia. And so the judges convened in an emergency meeting earlier today and announced their decision to completely cancel the entire electoral process for the presidential election. No new date has been set yet, and they still haven't published officially what their reasons were behind this choice. Now here in Romania, a lot of people are surprised, but also very angry at this decision. This is not only valid for far-right parties or the voters of Călin Georgescu, but also Elena Lasconi, who was supposed to face Călin Georgescu in the runoff. She said that this was an attack against democracy and that the country risks falling into anarchy. And so we'll have to see when the new date will be set. This could take weeks or even months, because the whole process will have to be restarted from the beginning. And this is likely a decision that will be taken by the future government after and if the Constitutional Court also validates the results of the parliamentary elections that took place last Sunday.
Well, it gets into a whole area, Maria, doesn't it, about to what extent TikTok and politically coordinated campaigns can be acceptable. The court clearly saying it isn't. And also questions about legitimacy of the election, because as you referred to, you have these two parties, you know, the centre-left and centre-right, that have ruled for 3 decades. There'll be many political voices saying, is this just an attempt to keep a grip on power, to stop any outsiders coming in? I just wonder if you just expand a bit on what other political reaction you're seeing. And also, was it a shock to you when you saw this breaking today? I imagine you had to look at this twice, didn't you?
Well, this certainly raises a lot of questions about the role of TikTok, about the role of social media in general in this campaign. I mean, the visibility that he obtained on TikTok in just the 2 weeks was not just during the official political campaign. This was content that was not labeled by the platform as political content, and so that it reached many more people, millions of people actually, as if it was just another content by influencers that have no link to the politics. And then there's also the fact that he campaigned on TikTok after the political campaign was already closed, and this raises the questions of the role of TikTok and what could TikTok have done to stop this, and if it was directly involved in his campaigning and in this coordinated sort of campaign. But this is, of course, a subject that the ruling parties and now the Constitutional Court are giving for justifying this cancelling of the election. But the reason why a lot of people are angry at this decision is not because they think, or at least for those that are not far-right voters, they think, yes, it's true, there's a problem, there's probably Russian interference. But people have voted. Millions of people have voted. Votes were recounted. Votes were validated. So what does this say about democracy if this vote can be cancelled now? Does this mean that the traditional parties are just trying to hang on to power? And what does this mean also for the legislative elections, for the parliamentary elections that still haven't been validated by the Constitutional Court? So yes, very surprising decision. And what's more worrying is what's going to happen next, because it's possible that a lot of people will take to the streets, will protest, especially those supporting Călin Georgescu. And will this further far-right sentiment? Will this even increase its chances of the far-right in the future? We'll have to see what happens in the coming months.
Briefly, Maria, just remind us why Călin Georgescu is considered far-right, and what else is coming from his office this evening. Has he spoken at all?
He hasn't spoken yet. The reason why he's considered as a far-right candidate are multiple. He has very strong stances with regards to nationalism, sovereignism. His discourses are believed to be inspired by legionary movements that were fascist movements in Romania's history before communism. He's also extremely conservative. He is against LGBT rights, for example. He said things that are considered as very sexist. He says feminism is an absurdity and things like that. And then he has also a very anti-Ukraine, I'd say, very anti-Western, anti-NATO stance, which leads to people labeling him far-right. Of course, he's an independent candidate, so to say. He doesn't run under any party label, but this is how he has been seen by analysts and by observers.
Maria, good to talk to you. Maria Gert Niculescu, our correspondent in Bucharest.